create a strong multilingual voice that empowers and engages the community to achieve social justice through education, celebration of culture, and local and international news coverage.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
You're listening to KBBF Community Radio 89.1 FM, Calistoga, Santa Rosa.
Estás escuchando KBBF 89.1 FM, Radio Cultura, Calistoga, Santa Rosa.
All right, hello everybody. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, and this is on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. The Queer Life Radio Show, which is LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and this show airs live every Friday night, 6 to 8 p.m. in the San Francisco Bay Area, reaching all the way up to Redding and down to the South Bay Area. We are live every Friday night, and this replays every Tuesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. on KBBF 89.1 FM. And is syndicated every Wednesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. on KWTF 88.1 FM Bodega Bay. All episodes are streamed live from the studio via Google Hangouts on Air, which you can watch on thequeerlife.org. TheQueerLife.org has an archive of every single episode, links to all news, topics mentioned, descriptions, and info for all guests interviewed, access to Trans Atheist Podcast and Lesbian Honest Podcast, exclusive podcasts from the Queer Life family, and support pages for crisis hotlines and access to mental health professionals. All right, hey, are you there? Who are absolutely in need. Please like us on Facebook, facebook.com/queerlife.
We're going to get started
on Twitter in The Queer Life. Subscribe to us on
just a minute here. Okay.
youtube.com/thequeerliferadio. Okay. Disclaimer. What you hear on this show should not be taken as strict legal or medical advice. Please use your own discretion and check with a lawyer or doctor to directly address your legal or medical needs. If you are enjoying this program or any other programming on KBBF, visit kbbf-fm.org and hit the donate button. All your donations are greatly appreciated. Again, I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. right. Hello, everybody. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and this is episode 34 of the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga, even though we're in Santa Rosa. It's just where the call sign says to go to. Anyway, thanks, FCC. No. Episode 34. In this episode, just to kind of give you a little outline here, we will be interviewing Kelli Busey from Planet Transgender of planettransgender.com, which is an online newspaper focused on trans news from around the nation and around the world. I've got her on hold right now, and also too, you won't exactly be hearing from the Queer Life's co-host Mandy Camille Howard, because she is out at the hospital. No, it wasn't an accident. This was purposeful. She just had gender reassignment surgery, gender confirmation surgery. Pretty incredible stuff. And so maybe we'll try and get her to call in later this episode. Who knows? We'll see how she's doing. Of course, her health is of the utmost importance here. I'm not going to get too upset if she doesn't make it in tonight. She's got a free pass this time. So I'm going to, I'm really excited about this here. I want to put Kelli on the air here, and anybody else who's listening to the show, the Queer Life Radio Show airs every Friday night, 6 to 8 p.m. And so, and every Tuesday night, 9 to 11 p.m. and every Wednesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. on KWTF 88.1 FM, and is online and all that good stuff. But anyway, I'm going to put Kelli on the air here. Kelli, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Hi.
I just want to, first off, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening.
My pleasure. It's for me an honor.
So Kelli and I have an interesting relationship here. We connected. I was going through the Queer Life emails. She contacted me through our contact form on the queerlife.org/contact, and was speaking to me about the trans protests in India, and a whole bunch of trans women, the Hijra class, were being detained and picked up by the police after the protest. And she said, I should, cover, and perhaps we should talk. And then Kelli and I talked, and because she and we've been using Planet Transgender articles all along. We're just, because they show up on Reddit, and Reddit's pretty amazing for anybody that knows what the internet is. And she's like, "Hey, you've been linking to all my stuff." I'm like, "Please don't sue me." So Kelli, seriously, first off, I want to thank you for all the great work you're doing and putting Planet Transgender together and creating and informing people on a lot of really cool stuff.
It's been a privilege. It's amazing how it all worked out. I had been talking to some friends about how we could expand our media presence, and some people said, "Well, Kelli, you should start a radio show." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't. I don't have the talent for it. That's number one. Well, number two is I just don't have the time." And I've been actively looking for a radio outlet, a radio station with a trans-centric theme broadcast. And I came across yours, and I was like, "This is what we need." She's effervescent. She's enthusiastic. She's very knowledgeable. She has a great co-host and a radio station. I was just thrilled to see that you are up there and doing this, and it's just such a service to our community.
Thank you. Wow. No, it's like I keep saying, it's this work is it's worth doing, and I'm glad that we both can be coming at it from different angles. You from writing down and being succinct and clear through words, and in my way with doing the spoken word here. And so it's just teamwork, as they say.
It complements each other very, very nicely. your radio station emblem looks very, very nice on the front page of Planet Transgender, and I'm really proud to have it there.
Yeah, that's really just so cool, just to see that there, and to see the messages spreading across like wildfire, like transgender wildfire. There's more.
Absolutely. I think the more that we support each other's media platforms, we don't have the loudest voices, and there's not that many of us.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take a lot of us for some reason to get people's attention.
Right.
They look to us. They look to us, the people that are working right on this level. They want to know how we're feeling and what we're talking about.
Yeah, and hopefully, what we're putting out there is helpful and informative for people, and allows us to bridge the gap of understanding between the cis straight community, which is pretty much just like everybody else, and the queer community. And so this is just really exciting.
It is. It really is. This is the first of a kind.
Yeah.
Cooperation. It's groundbreaking. It's something that people are starting to really, really notice, and it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Really,
and I only see it grow more and more. But anyhow, I'm going to stop gushing here and start asking you some questions. So I asked these questions of all my guests here, and I'm going to ask these questions, then I'm going to explain why I ask these questions for our audience here, because we do a lot of defining and a lot of clearing of misconceptions, and because there might be a contradiction to what I'm about to ask. And the questions I'm about to ask is, the first one's pretty harmless. Kelli, what are your preferred gender pronouns?
Female. Ma'am, Kelly, whatever works, but female.
Okay. And the reason we ask that is because a lot of times we assume what somebody's preferred gender pronouns are. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, what does preferred gender pronouns mean? It's just, do you like to be called sir or ma'am or somewhere in between? And yes, there are options somewhere in between, which we've explained in depth in previous episodes, which you can all find on thequeerlife.org. Second question is, what's your sexual orientation?
Yes.
Yes. I like that. Yeah.
Bisexual. I have always been, ever since I opened up my peepers. I think I'm looking at the person, the attraction, and I find both male and female attractions. And primarily I've had long-term relationships with females, with other women.
Cool. And just to explain to our audience, the reason I asked that is because this show is called The Queer Life, and it's perspectives, and I'm sharing particular perspectives. In this case, sharing Kelli's perspective as someone who identifies by using female pronouns and is identifies as yes. In your own words, can you I know you kind of did, but can you define bisexuality and why and what your thoughts are on pansexuality, just briefly?
Bisexuality, I would my take on it is that I guess it's more of like pansexuality. I am just attracted to the individual, age, sex, biological sex, transsexual status. It doesn't matter. I've had incredible relationships with a woman that was a recovering sexaholic. It doesn't matter. It's a person that makes it. It's a person that you look at that makes the difference in your life, and who you want to share yourself with, and who you want to please. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. And like I said, we do a lot of defining on this show, but as definitions are useful and labels are useful, they're just tools. And we don't always defer to just them. We just use them to more easily communicate. And what's your gender identity? Are you cis or trans or somewhere in between?
Transgender. I chose that on Facebook. I choose to define myself as a transgender person because I believe it's visibility that we all can benefit from.
Absolutely. Why do you say visibility is important?
If we, or as we have become more visible in the public eye, we are becoming more recognizable, good or bad. But the good thing about it is that when people look at transgender people now in the public, you don't see disdain as you used to. You don't see those feelings in the open as much as you used to. Now, when people see you, they say, "Oh, transgender person, blah, blah, blah. Go get the vegetables now." But you're more accepted, more common in public, which is a good thing.
Yeah, we've definitely, the times have certainly changed a lot within just these last few years. Acceptance and understanding have really kind of skyrocketed. It is truly, as they say, our time to shine. But we've been around the whole time, just waiting in the shadows. No.
Yes, no shadows.
Yeah, or in the closet, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But okay, so I want to talk to you about Planet Transgender. In your own words, describe what Planet Transgender is.
Planet Transgender is a place now, as it is a place where people can come from all over the world, and we have trans, and we actually have one queer identified person. Cis person in India from around the world that write about substantive happenings in their countries and in the areas that they live in, things that affect us in the worldwide community. This gives us a chance to read and to be exposed to ideas outside of our own little, outside of our world, our Christian Judeo world. It's outside of there. It's people looking at the world from a different place, and they're transgender people. And how great can that be? It's a wonderful opportunity.
And not only in Thailand.
I don't have an author that's living in Thailand now. I do have somebody from Malaysia, a trans man.
Oh wow.
And, he can give us a lot of. He just wrote a piece for us a couple days ago.
Wow. For our audience, can you define what is a trans man? Because a lot of people don't know what trans men are.
Sure. A trans man would be somebody that was born biologically female, that identifies with masculine traits at some level. Some trans men are so visibly masculine that you would have no idea they're transgender at all.
All bearded and studly and
my life was saved by a trans man when I first transitioned. He gave me a place to live. We both belonged to an organization, to a group of people, loose-knit group of people. And one day he said to me, "Do you need somewhere to live?" Yes.
Wow.
And I lived with him for over about a year or something. Trans men normally, or many trans men do hormones, testosterone, which helps very dramatic changes in bodies and vocal cords too.
Okay, great. Yeah, I asked that because, like I said, there's a lot of people who don't know what trans men are, and the media certainly has no idea that trans men exist, other than Chaz Bono, who seems to be the only one in the world according to TV. But anyway,
it's
so
an mixed blessing for a trans man because they because the testosterone gives them so much success in changing their bodies so that they match their gender. They become actually invisible. They're not visible, and that's a mixed blessing because when you're not visible, people can see through you,
right?
And they don't know who you are, and so it's a mixed blessing for them.
Yeah, you keep I like that you keep bringing up this idea of visibility. It's just a quick aside. What's your idea of the whole quote unquote being passable thing that's so important to a lot of trans people and honestly to a lot of cis people. Cis people think that trans people need to be passable. Trans people think that trans people need to be passable. What is passable? And what is the difference between passable and visible?
I think it used to be more of a cornerstone, a milestone that had to be reached in order to be accepted as transgender when you were invisible. As far as having no traits of your birth biological sex, and
right.
That's a very small percentage of trans women actually have that, and it's a blessing too.
Right.
And for anybody that does have that, but the majority, I think, of trans people have. And I love this too because there's tells, as my favorite musician would say, there's tells about where we came from.
Right.
And we can be proud of that. And I think it's really important to know that these are ours and these are our community tells.
Right.
And we can stand proud with the fact that they're ours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is. It's I went to see Laverne Cox of Orange is the New Black speak last year in San Francisco. And the question was asked her, would you wish to be cisgender if you could? And she said no, because as trans people, as particularly in our case as trans women, we're blessed, we are anointed, we're special, and I think to deny that is kind of denying of what is special about us, because there it is. But So Planet Transgender, it seemed to have spread around the world and covers a lot of voices now. Trans men, queer identified, trans women certainly, and your Amy Walker, one of your writers, I see her stuff on there a lot as well. And why did you create this channel?
Well, originally it was just a blog. Well, not just a blog, but originally it was a blog spot, and it was just me.
Oh, wow.
And from 2007 until beginning of about 5 months ago now. About 5 months ago, got I've been searching for a host and for a template that I could use on a WordPress site for but privately hosted, and I found one very affordable, and it does everything that I want it to do, and it looks really good. So I took a huge chance and moved from the blog spot to WordPress, because when you do that, you lose all of your Google ranking.
Right.
And
right.
That's huge if you're by yourself on a blog like Monica is, or Joe by God is. You are the social network. There basically is no other social network than the one that you built.
Yeah.
And the majority of your views come from Google, searching word searches. So when you leave the blog spot and you go to a WordPress site, you lose. You start like you're at ground zero. But so I took it there, and I had this vision of being able to attract talented authors, and I met that goal, and we're growing every day. And because not everyone, but the majority of my journalists have their own amazing social networks.
Right.
We have flash them. and that's just we have an author in the United Arab Emirates. We have an author in India, and in Britain, who's our amazing Amy. She's also an editor. I made her an editor a while back. In Malaysia, and we have a voice in Mexico City.
Wow.
And in Canada right now. Always looking for more folks from around the world, and really would like to find a journalist in an African state.
Right.
And here's the key for people. Anybody that's listening to this radio show and you've thought that maybe you would like to write, you don't have any writing experience, you don't speak English. You know what? That's good. Because you can write in your own language, whatever language you're comfortable in. I encourage people to write in Arabic. I want you to write to the people that are listening to you, to your community, because that's what it's all about. We can break those barriers, those language barriers down as we go, but we have, there's certain places, certain areas of the world, Chinese, Japanese, that are harder to communicate ideas in news because of the language barriers.
Absolutely.
And the barriers have come down in a lot of places for us, but there's certain parts of the world where still are there.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the foundation of KBBF out here. It's KBBF is a bilingual radio station for all of our listeners who don't know. It is the very first bilingual radio station in the nation. And
how amazing is that? That we hook up on this.
I know, right? So bridging the gap. But anyhow, here we're gonna go for a quick break here and have a word from our sponsors. If you're just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer. And we are interviewing Kelli Busey of Planet Transgender.com, an online news source focusing on trans news worldwide. The show airs every Friday night, 6 to 8 p.m., and every Tuesday night, 9 to 11 p.m. here on KBBF 89.1 FM. The show is syndicated on KWTF 88.1 FM every Wednesday night, 6 to 8 p.m., and that has an online stream to every single episode. Can be found on thequeerlife.org. If you have any questions or anything, you can hit up our contact form on the site. You can tweet us at The Queer Life. You can Facebook us, facebook.com/TheQueerLife. You can subscribe to us on YouTube and comments, youtube.com/The Queer Life Radio. All right, thank you so much for listening. We're going to go for a quick break and a word from our sponsors, and we will be back. Again, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, and we'll be continuing our interview with Kelli Busey of Planet Transgender, and then we're going to go into our news hour from the next hour. Okay, thank you so much for listening. All right.
God, sorry I started rambling. Oh my God, shut me up sometimes. I'm sorry. Oh, it's so great to get out there in the air and talk about this. Holy shit, it feels good.
Cool. So, all right.
KBBF 89.1 contigo.
All right, so we're going to take this little break here and then we'll be back. Just stay on the line, okay?
Okay.
For those who protested,
the Committee for Justice in Mexico cordially invites you to a public forum of parents and classmates of the 43 students who were disappeared last September in Ayotzinapa in the state of Guerrero, Mexico. The forum will be held April 7th at 7 p.m. in the Carpenters Union Hall, located at 1700 Corby Avenue in the city of Santa Rosa. Come and show your support for the family and classmates of the missing students.
Por los que vendrán con amor, igualdad, justicia.
¿Cómo suenan la música y el son de América Latina? ¿O tal vez suenan como esto? ¿O quizá tienen más ritmo? La respuesta es: todos son ritmos latinos. Y es que Smithsonian Folkways Recordings, el sello discográfico del Instituto Nacional Smithsonian, lanzó su nueva serie Tradiciones, un catálogo musical de las regiones en América Latina.
Si uno sabe de dónde viene, entonces mejor puede decir para dónde va.
El doctor Daniel Shigi es director y curador para Smithsonian Folkways Recordings.
Uruguay, Salvador, Colombia, México. La idea de la serie es ofrecer un recurso cultural.
Para escuchar más de esta música y obtener más información, visita folkways.si.edu o busca en el internet las palabras Tradiciones y Smithsonian.
Un mensaje de la red hispana y esta estación.
Niños como yo escuchan KBBF 89.1 FM, la voz de tu comunidad, porque es divertida.
All right, hello everybody. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and our guest for this evening again is Kelli Busey of Planet Transgender.com. Kelli, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. So we were just talking about what Planet Transgender is and Planet Transgender's reach across the world and in some pretty interesting places. Are there any subjects that, I mean, there's pretty much everything I come across on your site is pretty incredible and powerful. But what would you say is some of the biggest stuff that you've covered on your source?
Wow, that's a big question. I never really thought of it in that terms. I think it's the overall spectrum of articles that we have on is really the big, it's really the big news. I mean, we have folks that cover a certain band in a certain town, a certain genre of music. We have people that write about national news in news in different parts of the world. I think it's the real news is that it's a lot of different voices in a lot of different topics, but they're all trans related in some form. If that makes any sense. Yeah,
it does. I see your stuff come across the internet, and that's how I instantly knew who you were when you messaged me in the beginning, and I was just like, wow, Kelly from Planet Transgender is messaging me. I'm like, what's going on? Am I going to be sued or something?
There's one post that I just put up tonight, and that has special meaning to me. And I wouldn't have even written about it in the way that in the context that I do, unless you had asked me about what was my vision. I mean, I really didn't have one, but I kind of stumbled across it in 2009 when a Filipino transgender woman addressed the UN. And when I watched that video, she so inspired me with her speech. In 2009, how many transgender people had addressed the full UN? I can't think. I don't know if there was one, but I don't think there was. I think she might have been the first trans person to actually have that platform. And the speech that she gave to me made such an impression on me that at the time when I was doing those posts, international politics, international news about transgender people got very little attention as far as, hits goes on the internet. It was always kind of depressing when you would see that only 20 or 30 people read this post. I was like, what am I writing this for? This is why we were writing it.
Yeah.
And that's really what influenced me to do so.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. I just pulled up planettransgender.com and help SAS Rogando SAS achieve her dream of Leiden University. And what is this about particularly?
She addressed the UN in 2007, and her speech basically was about the cruelty and the violence that that at the time hadn't really gotten any international attention at all, and very little national attention inside of different countries. Basically, her speech boiled down to me one thing: we, in order as a human species, as a species, in order to evolve, we have to reclaim the lucidity of our hearts. And this whole idea just became such a center of my focus of what advocacy is really all about. It's larger than transgender people. It's much larger. We, as a community, basically are kind of like sandpaper in a way. We take the rough edges off of humanity,
right,
and allow a smoother touch to the differences between cultures, between races. Basically, that's where her speech came from. And then, a true blessing, She sent a message to Transgender. I'm sure she probably didn't know that I wrote the article earlier about it. But she's in the Netherlands right now, and she desperately wants to attend a university there.
Wow.
And there was only one person that was accepted for a scholarship to this. It's a diplomacy university, and then I have no idea about this university. I haven't looked it up yet, but I will believe her when she says that it is one of the most respected ones in the world, and she would really like to attend, but she's going. So there's an effort underway to help her do so, and I have a link on that page that people read the article.
Yeah.
He's so inspired.
Yeah. And just for our listeners, that link can be found on planettransgender.com. It's called, the article's called Help Sastrogando Sasot Achieve Her Dream of Attending Leiden University, where, what Kelly is just talking about here. I mean, it's just, we all have our inspirations, and the fact that she was able to to touch you through the work that she's doing and inspire you to do all the great work that you've done. I want to thank her. Maybe we can get her to come on the show sometime.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Yes. Oh, that would be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah. And, and have you back on too, because that would be really cool. And, have like a, just kind of like an inspiration heart to heart over across the world, and over the internet and radio, and just have thousands upon thousands of people just hear it. That's sharing stories and maybe creating more inspiration. That's beautiful. But I want to go on. I want to ask you some more stuff here about your experiences. You've created Planet Transgender, which has turned out to be this news source that is reaching thousands upon thousands of people online. It has become kind of like a one of the main staples of trans and queer news on the web. That's not getting thousands upon thousands of dollars. Just kind of like this grassroots kick butt kind of attitude, and which is pretty neat. But I want to talk about you a little bit. What's your background? How did you get into writing?
When I began transition, I guess I started scribbling on the blog spot. But a friend of mine invited me to a protest at a local drag bar, and I learned through that protest that how to value people. I learned an awful lot about activism outside of the boundaries, of specific boundaries. That this person is cisgender, he's gay man. Now he's a major player in Equality Texas. But so we did the protest, and in doing so, I met the original founders of the Dallas TransAdvocate. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, it was really great. They didn't want to continue their that kind of activism anymore, so I asked them for permission if I could put it online, which I did, and we ended up with about 300 members, and then the host decided to charge more money for it. We couldn't afford it, so unfortunately that came offline. But then on the other side of that, it had basically reached as far as we could, and it served its purpose when it was valuable. So I began writing for an organization called Reconciling Ministries Network. I was at one point in my life very active in working with Soul Force, which is an organization devoted towards nonviolent civil disobedience in relation to religious persecution. And I did a number basically they had big, huge guy at the doors of the conference hall. And one of the leaders of the folklore was a little tiny lady. She was probably about 4 feet tall and about as round as she was high. And I thought, she's listening to this. I love you. But she stepped off the curb. She said, "We're going to go across the street." We're like, "What?" You see, we're going to walk across the street. She stepped off the curb, and in Fort Worth, in Texas, a lot of the drainage ditches, drainage openings are high, like they're like 3 feet high or 2 feet off the ground from the rest of the curb. And when she stepped off, she hit the ground like a sack of potatoes. Everybody ran right to her. And when I say everybody, I also mean the huge guys from across there. And when we looked up at each other, when we realized, I mean, it was just like dawned on us that we were all good people.
Yeah.
At that moment, it was such a revelation. And by the end of the conference, they had gone to do their conferencing things inside, and we were standing at the doors outside of the conference hall greeting people when they'd come in, and people would say, "What you got for us today?" You know, so I give them donuts and everything, and it was a wonderful experience. It really was. Then I became involved with the Reconciling Ministries. I was one of the first authors there when they began the blog, and I took a year commitment with that. And that was basically the first time that I actually felt compelled to write at a higher level. And I went and wrote for Frock Magazine for about a year. Called Grassroots, and I did that for about a year. That was really an exciting experience because I had access to international interviews and a very exciting magazine format to publish on. I went to the TransAdvocate for probably about a year after that, and that's like nirvana for a gonzo journalist, because you publish there and you're going to get 20, 40, 60,000 hits in the first day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great platform to write at. And if you get a chance to do that, but that's where when I seen the success that the TransAdvocate was having, I had a little different vision of what I would like to do.
Right.
But it was basically what I wanted to do.
It's incredible.
As far as the platform went.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just kind of grew and sprung out from there. We got about 10 minutes left here, and I want to go into so your gender identity is trans woman. And for a lot of our listeners here, I like to share trans voices, as you said earlier in the interview that you were looking for trans-centric source here, and the Queer Life is certainly trans-centric, but not exclusively. But it's like you said, visibility and putting our voices out there. I want to talk to you about your transition, and first off, when would you say that you transitioned, and what did you define as the day you considered yourself transitioned?
Probably when 2007 at some point. I don't remember exactly when it was. I moved to Texas about that time permanently. I've been living here, but not living here. I spent most of my life on the road. When I came here, I made a decision, that I had to do something, and coming here for some reason made sense. I'm not sure what it was. It was flat and dry. That's what I was looking for, hot, flat, and dry. And Texas, yeah. But I originally kind of identified as genderqueer. I found it gave myself a lot more freedom, and plus my other at the time was more comfortable with that concept, I guess.
What would you, for our listeners, how would you define genderqueer?
Genderqueer, it's kind of like, for me, opens the doors for a person that doesn't want to define themselves specifically with a gender. You can say, I am genderqueer. You make your own rules. You set your own expectations. You don't have to rely on society if you're in a place where this is comfortable for you to define you.
Right.
And I think that's a great idea. I'm a real believer in the trans umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the whole concept, you know,
right.
That makes the right wing very, very uncomfortable. We don't have to obey their laws and their rules as far as gender normality goes. And and I also wrote for the Transsexual Menace for a long time too, which was pretty radical. There was a time when that really fit the need.
Well, a lot of people would say that whatever we talk about or share, or in terms of our gender identities, whether genderqueer, transsexual, transgender, gender fluid, or what have you, it's all pretty radical to some people.
Yes. So, the beauty of it now here in Texas, where I live, is a very, very conservative town. I mean, extremely conservative, little town, blah, blah, blah. They love you the same as anybody else would. You know, I mean, we've really gotten made huge changes in society, I think.
Yeah. So, in terms of coming out, and in Texas, out here in California, we have an idea of Texas not being very much like California. And so what was it like for you to come out as trans or genderqueer in a small conservative Texas town?
It was very hard in 2007. It was extremely hard. There wasn't any acceptance. You know, when you went outside of your domain, when you left your house, you were open to a lot of open hatred, a lot of bigotry, open bigotry. You really needed to have a secure way to make a living if you wanted to eat. It didn't revolve around acceptance. You know, in other words, I owned my own business.
Wow.
You know, so I could set my own rules. Yeah.
You know, fortunately, you know, as we've reported, and as you've reported on Planet Transgender, there's the divide. It's pretty powerful. There's a lot of trans identified people who do not have employment, who cannot gain employment as a result of discrimination against their trans identities, even despite laws being put into place. So
Texas might get a little worse too. We've got a new Tea Party honcho there in Austin, and he's evidently given the green light to the legislature to make life here impossible for me and for other transgender people. I'm hoping that it fails the same as it did, you know, Kentucky.
Yeah.
How that works out. They said 800 bills that, you know, every single legislator is trying to you know, schlep, but, you know, very limited time left.
Yeah, I just recently reported on 5 states, some of those articles from Planet Transgender, you know, that are passing anti-LGBT or anti-trans laws, or trying to, and you know, this, you know, it's either a Senate or the House has kind of green-lighted some of these things, and you know, was it that you know, Texas, you know, was one of those states, and Florida and Indiana and Kentucky, and I just you know, it's.
I got one thing to say about that.
Yeah.
DOTE.
DOTE.
Yeah, that's actually 4 letters. DOTE. Because if we let a Republican, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little political, in the White House, we can take every single advancement that we've made in the past 8 years and just flush it down the toilet in one day. It's going to be gone. Because a lot of that is interpretations. A lot of that is administrative directions, and those can be erased with the blink of an eye. And there's only one way we're going to do that: not just to vote, but to go out and actively campaign, work for a campaign to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, those are pretty high stakes there, and you know, these are people's rights, these are people's lives, and so educate yourselves, people. We here on the Queer Life, we very seldomly talk about politics or religion, the two best subjects to bring up at a dinner table. But we advocate people and people's rights, and that's why we try to share as much knowledge as possible. But anyway, here, Kelli, just a few more minutes here. I want to ask you about so transition for you. That was fairly difficult considering the location that you're at, and for you, what did transition mean to you? Because for some people it means, okay, well, I have had the gender reassignment surgery. Or for some people it's like I got on hormones, or for some people it's I came out on Facebook. What was that for you?
Probably a combination of all that. I changed my name and my gender marker. I think that was the most dramatic thing, that statement that I could make. When I did that, everything else basically followed in the process. Then couple years of joblessness, and the goodwill of our community, kept me off the streets. Part-time jobs, 2 part-time jobs, 2 full-time jobs, and now I finally have 1 job that pays the bills. So it's been a number of years, but I think internally is really what matters. I see friends on Facebook say, well, I've been on hormones for 6 months now, and where are all these changes? Well, changes come from inside.
Yeah.
Who you are and how you feel about yourself is all going to be reflected on the outside.
Absolutely. Here, before we close the interview hour here, do you have any messages for our listeners out there? If you were to give advice to somebody questioning their gender identity or sexual orientation?
Kids. You can always contact me through Planet Transgender, the contact forums. Send me a message if you're feeling down. I'm on Twitter at Planet Transgender, and I also have my old account at Kelli Busey. If you need somebody to talk to, find someone to talk to. Don't let this world build up on you. Don't let them wear you down, and don't let yourself think for a second that nobody values you. Know that we love you and we want you here. We don't want to read about you. We don't want that. Use the phone, call the phone, the trans helpline. It's there.
Yep. All right, Kelli Busey, thank you so much for sharing with us a little bit about your story and continuing to do the work that you do. So again, thank you so much for joining us here in the first hour of the Queer Life Radio Show.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor.
Yeah, great. So I want you to stay on the line here, and I want you to hang around for the news hour, because the next hour of the Queer Life Radio Show is LGBT news from around the world and roundtable discussion. And also joining us for the news hour will be Emerald Carnes, who is a master's program in clinical mental health counseling at SSU and is a marriage and family therapist trainee. So she'll be joining us to share her particular perspective as well. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. Stay tuned for the next top of the hour. Thanks so much for listening.
This is KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga. Esta es KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga.
Not driving anymore? If you have a member of the family that isn't driving anymore, let them them donate their vehicle to KBBF. We'll arrange for free pickup even if they don't live in the Bay Area. We can arrange for pickup anywhere in the country. Donating is easy. Just call 877-411-3662 and our friendly staff will make all of the arrangements. Call 877-411-3662 or donate online at kbbf.fm.org.
Asar carnes a la parrilla puede tener consecuencias graves a causa de la intoxicación con bacterias como la E. coli y la salmonela. No olvide que la higiene es indispensable al preparar cualquier alimento. Lávese bien las manos y cualquier utensilio de cocina con agua y jabón. Mantenga las carnes refrigeradas hasta el momento de ponerlas en la parrilla y asegúrese de que alcancen una temperatura mínima de 160 grados Fahrenheit si son rojas o 165 si son de aves. Mensaje de la Universidad de California.
Enriquezca su acervo cultural. Escuche KBBF, la voz de la comunidad.
You have reached the voicemail box of
Alright, hello everybody. So I was like jamming out right there, and this is Club Kaya. Just make sure you take your shoes off at the door. Anyway, Kelly, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. All right, so you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and I've got Kelli Busey on the line. We just interviewed her. Keep saying we. I usually have my co-host here. She's out in recovery right now, and get well soon. And Kelli Busey of PlanetTransgender.com. She's the editor and produces an online transgender and queer news source. Again, Kelly, thank you for staying and joining us for our news hour.
My pleasure.
All right. And so also, I have in the studio with me Emerald Carnes, master's program in clinical mental health counseling at SSU. That's Sonoma State University, and marriage and family therapist trainee. Emerald, thanks for joining us here in the studio.
Thank you for inviting me, Kaya.
Yeah. So what are your preferred gender pronouns and gender identity?
I prefer cis woman, and I'm heterosexual.
Okay, very good. So we need more hetero cis people to share their perspectives, at least on this show.
Well, I'm glad to do so.
Awesome. So what we have on the agenda for tonight, agenda, is we've got some news subjects here. Oh, I'm also getting some messages here from Mandy out there. We might get a quick little update from her. So everybody just hang out on the line for just a moment here, because we are gonna try to pipe her in here. So again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. We're gonna try to get Mandy in, and we're gonna get a little bit of updates going. It's again, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. Thanks so much for listening.
You have reached the voicemail box of 41.
Anyhow, here we were trying to get her, but it looks like she's still dealing with some health stuff right now. So anyhow, again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. So this is the news hour of the Queer Life Radio Show here. And so some of the subjects we're going to be covering tonight are from a lot around the LGBT, around the nation, around the world. And so it's going to be but I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a little trans-centric right now, just because a lot of the media right now is focused on trans news. Some of the articles we're going to cover here, and some of them written by Kelli Busey herself. First article from PlanetTransgender.com and written by Kelli Busey is "Study shows long-term hormone treatment, HRT, for transgender people is safe." Second article that she wrote, "Ugandan anti-LGBT bishop gets rancorous welcome in London." Another couple articles from PlanetTransgender.com, "Does a butch woman have cis privilege?" Absolutely. We'll explain what exactly cis privilege is. And Jermaine Greer denies she's transphobic by claiming transphobia doesn't exist. We'll explain what transphobia is as well. It's just think homophobia, but for transgender people. Next article is "Why are trans women treated like outcasts in the feminist community?" And so that's kind of a little bit loaded, in terms of what the feminist community is and what trans women are and whether or not we belong and all that shtick there. From Huffington Post, California forced to allow signatures for appalling "Shoot the Gays" ballot initiative. That's something we've actually been reporting on for the last couple weeks here about what's going on with this California lawyer. He basically filed wants to put something on the ballot that would execute all gays under California law. With a bullet to the head. And so you can actually check out previous episodes to listen to that. The California Bar Association got 3,000 signatures to get the guy kicked off the California State Bar. So it's kind of a trip a little bit. I want to share something from Inside Edition. Transgender prison guard embraced by inmates at San Quentin. This is a piece done by Zoe Tur, who is one of the first openly trans news reporters in the United States. She's not the first, as there have been others, but so that's pretty interesting. And that transgender quote unquote prison guard, technically the correct term is correctional officer, because prison guards are privately operated, as in private corporations, and correctional officers are peace officers. They're police. And so that's what we have in the state of California. We have fully trained police officers in our prison system. And that's Mandy, our co-host. So I want to play that piece and talk to you about that. And there's a small little YouTube clip that I want to share. male gender stereotypes from the Hatch workshop. Little kids responding to gender stereotypes. And it's, I always love to share things about little kids because little kids, like, they're not spoiled by all the craziness that we as adults are kind of like ingrained and taught. And, a child's mind is beautiful. And then we just fill it with stuff. And not all the time is the stuff good. So that's I want to share that as well. And last week I spoke a little bit about Zoe Tour and some of what she has said about all the things that are going on in the trans world. And she's actually commented on quite a few different subjects, including the trans woman in the at Planet Transgender, Fitness. Maybe Planet Transgender will have a gym someday. What do you think, Kelly?
Yeah.
But and anyhow, she said some pretty interesting points about transgender people at Planet Fitness and use of public locker rooms and kind of all the above here. But I just want to, I want to start out our discussion by covering what kids talk about, what it means to be manly. So I'm going to play this short audio segment here, and we're going to take a moment to respond here. So Kelly and Emerald, just hold on for just a second here. And everybody, you're going to be listening to, from Huffington Post, kids talk about what it means to be, quote, manly. Check it out.
Can a truck change how people feel about a guy?
Which man is sexier?
Truck. That one has way more sex appeal.
That's a man wearing the pants, so that shows that men are in charge. Manly means to not cry, not be a sissy. Men work hard and they do all the sports and stuff.
Man up means toughen up and unemotional, go through it. I like drawing and I like birds and flowers.
It's sort of very stereotypical to assume that only girls can wear pink and play with princess dolls. You should be able to do your own things and do what you want.
Some people don't like what the stereotype is.
My brother, he's the same size in clothes as my mom. Sometimes he wears her shoes or her jacket or something.
My uncle is a chef and my dad cooks all of our food.
Crafting. I love crafting. Origami sometimes. And I also like to do all those things because that's me. That's who I am.
I joined hip hop when it was just one other boy. It was just us and 4 other girls.
I play with girl toys and boy toys. I don't really care which one is meant for boys or for girls. I just play with them. They're toys. If I were to describe the perfect man, the words would be smart, not judgy, and kind, and he likes caring for animals.
If you try to go against stereotypes, then you can. When you go your own way, it feels good because you feel free and you can do what you want to do and you don't have to do what other people say.
Anyhow, I love sharing, again, like I said, I love sharing little things about kids, and those were a bunch of little boys. There was a couple little girls in this little YouTube clip. Again, you can find this clip and more on thequeerlife.org. And I mean, what really struck me was it's like, being a man is not being a sissy, or you can't play with pink things, or you can't like princess movies or whatever. Emerald, as a cis hetero person, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, listening to it, it was just really sad to hear this little boy say that to man up is to go through things without emotion, especially since I'm going through a program for mental health counseling and I work with small children. It's really hard for young people to have to bury their emotions and their feelings, and they need outlets. And it just breaks my heart to hear little boys say that they are not allowed to have their emotions.
Kelly, what do you have to say?
If you bury your emotions, I mean, if parents teach the children that burying emotions is an indication of willingness, they're doing their children a great disservice. They're actually stifling the growth emotionally.
I mean, it brings into play these ideas of gender stereotypes, of what impositions society has made upon us, of what is a man supposed to be, what is a woman supposed to be, and it's as if everybody is supposed to kind of fit into these cookie cutter ideas. Emerald, you said that you worked with some people who would that this kind of thinking has made their lives difficult.
Yeah, I work with elementary school children. I've also worked with adolescent youth, and like Kelly was saying, it's robbing them of personal growth. It stunts their development. It causes a load of emotional difficulties and problems later on in life, and sometimes it stifles coping skills, and it snowballs.
Yeah. Kelly, what would you say is the result of all these gender stereotypes? How do you think this affects people, not cis or trans?
I mean, as far as trans people goes, it's extremely damaging. It's amazing the contrast. When I grew up, I had footballs thrown at me. I was beaten quite a bit. All these things were done to baseballs. Here, catch this. To try to make me more manly. By my father, told to stop saying you're sorry, stop saying please so much. And as you grow older, these things make an impression on you. And many of us from my generation, older people, we rejected the idea that being accessible emotionally, of the idea of being accessible emotionally. So when we went into relationships, it was basically, I got mine, what I want out of this relationship, whatever you want, that's your business. And it's a terrible thing to do to people. It really is.
Breaking little kids' hearts. I mean, that's who likes to see little kids cry about stuff that that probably shouldn't matter. But we're gonna move on here to. I feel like we could talk about that for the next couple hours here. Gender stereotypes, the cultural ramifications of what it means to impose these ideals upon little people and how it changes them. So pretty incredible stuff. I want to share the piece from Inside Edition about the co-host of this show, who's not here at the moment. Transgendered prison guard embraced by inmates at San Quentin. That's what it's called. The reason why I kind of chuckled there from it, because transgendered is not correct English. One cannot become transgender. The suffix ed implies past tense, as if something had happened at one point. You do not simply go to bed one night cisgender and then wake up and become transgendered. It's not like you go to a transgender school. and get your transsexual degree and enter the. Okay, I'm taking this metaphor too far. But anyway, it's transgender, not transgendered. It's like you cannot become cisgendered. I was just born this way. It's just how I am. That's how we are. It's how we always were. Just kind of came out and told you about it at some point. It's anyway. That's that. And I want to play this little piece here for you from Inside Edition. Transgender prison guard embraced by inmates at San Quentin.
San Quentin, one of America's toughest state prisons. It is perhaps the most dangerous beat for any prison guard. Now imagine you're a guard transitioning from a man to a woman. Yes, San Quentin has a transgender prison guard, and who better to bring her story to America than Zoe Tur, the helicopter news reporter once known as Chopper Bob Tur before his transition into a woman. When Mandy Howard started off at San Quentin, he was known as Michael, a tough-as-nails decorated Navy veteran. But inside, Michael always felt like a woman. So 3 years ago came a dramatic decision. Michael reported for work dressed as a woman named Mandy.
That had to be a big day.
No, it was a huge day. I mean, it was the scariest day of my life.
6-foot-tall Mandy says she was worried about how the inmates would react.
They got your number now, honey.
On the hit Netflix show Orange is the New Black, a transgender prisoner finds acceptance. But would Mandy?
How you doing? I'm good. Not too bad.
Mandy says the inmates have embraced her, especially Lady J, who is also transgender.
Your journey is something to be admired, and it is something that should be told. And I admire you so much.
For our sit-down interview, Mandy ditched her uniform and got dolled up.
You left on a Friday as Michael, and you returned as Mandy. What was that like?
That was incredibly scary. I just felt like I was going to be a walking sideshow through the prison. That everyone is going to be looking at me and laughing at me.
This week, Mandy underwent sex reassignment surgery, which completes her transition.
Mandy, it's official. We're done.
She'll now proudly work her beat at San Quentin as a full-fledged woman.
Oh, it's okay. You're going to do fine.
Anyhow, this is the Queer Life Radio Show. We are reporting. I'll never work on TV anyway. You probably, if I have to talk like that. So, this first off is kind of pretty incredible that she's getting this sort of attention and creating more quote unquote visibility, as you said, Kelly. And I mean, first off, Kelly, I want to hear some of your thoughts. What do you have to say about this small piece?
I had a really hard time watching it. The first time I saw it, I watched it about a quarter of the way through, and I just got so I'm gonna say red in the face. I'm sorry, but I have no respect for Zoe Tur. And this piece is superficial. For some reason, they found that it was necessary to use her birth name. I don't know if that, it's just kind of the kind of journalism that would need to do that. And listening to your show as much as I do, I'm usually a regular. Mandy is an extremely insightful, interesting, educated, and delightful person to hear. None of this was basically none of this was shown in that interview. It was very awkward.
Yeah. Emerald, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, what stood out to me is earlier you asked Kelly about what she perceived as her completion of transition, and then in the report she referred to gender reassignment as the completion.
Yeah, she actually referred to it as sexual reassignment surgery, which we don't actually use that term as much anymore.
Okay.
That is a really good point. Bringing up surgery as the emphasis here, and that's the stuff that really these points do stand out. It's the it's like what Kelly said. The emphasis on Mandy's previous name that and gender that she was assigned at birth, and her quote unquote boy name, and as Emerald, you said, the focus on the surgery being the de facto kind of points, when this is something that I want to have our listeners understand, is that not every trans woman or trans man opts to have gender reassignment surgery. And so a lot of you listeners out there might be like, oh, well, why are you picking out over details? Why, it's like, this is really important stuff to know. And it's like, well, is that important to know? Kelly, I liked what you said about not pointing out how intelligent and passionate and educated she is, and articulate. And it's like, Mandy is a 6-foot prison guard at San Quentin prison. It's like, that's not the Mandy that I know. The Mandy that I know, chills out and we play video games and we have deep philosophical discussions about South Park, and the Mandy that I know comes with me to the Queer Life radio show and does public education about trans issues, whereas this is sensationalistic a little bit here, and it's too much emphasis on her previous identity, and people are like, well, people want to know this, otherwise why would we care about her? Well, we should care about her because she is a trans woman in a very male dominated environment, and that's hard no matter where you're at. Whether in blue collar quote unquote kind of job where it's kind of like the good old boys club, and being sissy quote unquote, liking girl things, or even going so far as identifying as a woman, as we trans women do, is kind of considered a faux pas. So that's pretty intense. I mean, obviously it was only 2 minutes long. Kelly, you spoke about some of your disagreements here with Zoe. We got about a minute here before we go for the break, because we're gonna talk about Zoe after Zoe Tour, the first one of the first transgender news reporters on television. What were your thoughts? Why did you say that?
She was recently on Dr. Drew show, and she called the trans woman that was in the Planet Fitness news articles a cross-dressing fetishist. There's a lot. There's so much wrong with that. We don't have time probably go into that too deeply right now.
Yeah.
She's basically sensationalistic journalist who is being paid to make stories out, make them into a context that will be consumable by the audience that these shows cater to. And this doesn't do us any favors.
Absolutely. Okay, again, you've been listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. We're going to go for a quick break to hear some words from our sponsors, and we will be back to give you more news from the Queer Life Radio Show. I've got my guests are Kelli Busey of PlanetTransgender.com and Emerald Carnes, marriage and family therapist trainee. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Queer Life Radio Show.
KBBF 89.1 FM, conquistando tu corazón.
For those who protested,
the Committee for Justice in Mexico cordially invites you to a public forum of parents and classmates of the 43 students who were disappeared last September in Ayotzinapa in the state of Guerrero, Mexico. The forum will be held April 7th at 7 p.m. in the Carpenters Union Hall, located at 1700 Corby Avenue in the city of Santa Rosa. Come and show your support for the family and classmates of the missing students.
Por los que vendrán con amor, igualdad, justicia.
Hi, this is Adam Rodriguez. Did you know that today 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic? That means many of the future doctors, engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. Many support you, and the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. Learn more at hsf.net. Brought to you by the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and the Ad Council.
Estás escuchando KBBF 89.1 FM, Radio Cultura.
Sorry, I'm like rocking out there a little bit. Anyhow, here we were just talking about, again, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer. If you're just tuning in right now, you can check out this episode and other episodes of the Queer Life Radio Show on thequeerlife.org. This is episode 34, Planet Transgender Kelli Busey, who is our guest who has stayed and joined us on for the news hour, and Emerald Carnes. Okay, thanks both of you for joining for the news hour. So, so I want to get into this next article because we brought up Zoe Tour here, the quote unquote first transgender TV reporter. One of the first, at least in the US. This is an article from the advocate.com. Trans reporter Zoe Tour in hot water over remarks on trans bodies, trans rights. And this article goes over a couple of the issues here. Celebrated widely last month as one of the US's first out trans news correspondents, Zoe Tour is once again a hot topic among trans rights supporters, but the tone has become indecidedly less triumphant. And so this article covers, one of the issues that Zoe Tour has publicly spoken about that kind of has drawn red flags because she's received criticism from the trans community. I spoke about some of the issues that that were brought up in one of the interviews with her speaking on Inside Edition about what being a trans woman is and how we are identified, and what some of her thoughts are in that women are supposed to be a certain way, and again kind of relating back to those gender stereotypes, because to say all women are supposed to be feminine and like pink and love watching The Notebook, is a blatant overgeneralization. I'll tell you, I'm not going to give my opinion on The Notebook. I know a lot of women out there are like, hey, I know a lot of guys are like, hey, but anyway, do you like The Notebook? Or no, just kidding. No. Okay. Here's a cis hetero woman coming on for the record. But anyway, some of these issues are trans women in public locker rooms. That was Kelli actually brought that up earlier about the speaking about Planet Fitness there and what she spoke about that. And I've got little clips here that we can play of each portion. Second issue, trans youth playing on school sports teams. That's pretty pretty interesting right there. The issue, hormone therapy's effects on sexual orientation. Oh, I'm going to definitely have to play that one there. That's she's saying that hormone replacement therapy changes your sexual orientation. And so that's actually, I might want to cover that one first. But other issue, trans men and polycystic ovarian syndrome. Oh, gosh. Basically saying that trans men don't exist. This is a trans woman, mind you, saying that trans men don't exist. Last issue, how she was speaking about Bruce Jenner and coming out. And that's, I know that's something that people have been, kind of talking about, and kind of, it's a Kardashian kind of thing. So I know everybody, at least in the tabloid world, is tripping out about that whole thing. Whether or not Bruce Jenner is trans, and there has been no public statements really. It's just a whole bunch of speculation, and everybody's right to come out is their own. As much as we would like to be visible and to show that visibility, it's a process, and it's a pretty stressful one. Suicide rates are fairly high in the trans community, unfortunately. So actually the first section I want to talk here about Zoe Tour is her thoughts on sexual orientation. I want to play this little clip here real quick about her talking about that. This is from TMZ.com.
It takes a while, but it gradually comes on, and you start noticing men, and you're attracted to men. And a lot of it's initially the pheromonal response, and then you start looking at men differently. And, it's the normal female characteristics. Like, if a guy's funny, he's attractive, and now I look at women that I know I would have been attracted to, and I look at them and I say, well, I'd like to, she looks pretty, maybe I'd be interested in wearing that outfit or something like that. It's really strange, but hormones, it's
wow.
Yeah, and some of this is not reversible. Some of the changes that we're talking about.
Anyhow, Emerald, I like the look on your face there. Why'd you have that look on your face?
Well, it sounds like she totally disregarded lesbian women.
What are lesbian women?
I don't know. You tell me. Because, all women are attracted to men. Lesbians are unicorns.
Yeah. So the implication here is that it's hormones that determine who you're sexually attracted to. And Kelly, you spoke earlier. I asked you what your sexual orientation was. You said yes. And would you say the hormones made you estrogen has made you like women less? What are your thoughts on what Zoe has said?
Yes. No, I already said that one. I don't. She's defined her definition of or her understanding of what it means to be transgender is pretty much polar opposite of the common, what's commonly understood by the trans community.
I think there should be private areas. The person.
Yeah. So
hormones. I don't, for myself personally, don't have anything to do with my sexuality. And I think for the vast majority of trans people, they can pretty much say the same. They found that who you are is who you are. Hormones help to emphasize physically, and some of your emotional responses are changed, but your attractions don't change with hormones.
Yep. Absolutely. As we've said numerous times on the show, gender identity and sexual orientation are two completely separate trajectories. Although, while sexual orientation may evolve as a result of exploring gender identity, it's not because of one or the other. I remember when I came out, I was like, "Hey, Mom, just want to let you know I'm transgender." And my mom, and mind you, I'm Thai. I come from Thailand, so I know everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, here we go," But my mom, even my mom asked me, she was like, "Wait, son, are you gay?" I was like, holding my ex-girlfriend's hand at the time, and I was like, I'm like, "No, I just feel like a girl." And she's like, "Wait, but you want to be a girl, so you're gonna like men. I'm like, not necessarily. So even in a country where being trans is generally accepted, these stereotypes kind of perpetuate all across the world. But I'm gonna have to put like a big kind of a disclaimer on what Zoe said here. I wish I had like a little buzzer sound, because it's like maybe I got something here. I'm sorry, that's pretty bad actually.
That works.
No, hormones do not cause your gender identity or your sexual orientation to change. So if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm a girl and I like other girls, it's not because your hormones are wrong. You're probably just, your hormones are probably fine. I mean, of course, you can get them checked just for health reasons, but it doesn't hurt. But I mean, the needle does hurt. But anyway, second issue here is trans women in public locker rooms. When Michigan resident Yvette Cormier complained to Planet Fitness about the presence of a trans woman in the locker room, the famously judgment-free gym franchise made it clear that any self-identified woman was welcome in the female facilities. When Cormier returned for 4 days straight to warn other female gym goers that trans women were allowed to share space with them, Planet Fitness canceled her membership. And so this is Zoe speaking about this trans woman on the Dr. Drew show on television. Check it out.
I think people have a right to be concerned, and I think there should be private areas. The person at the very center of this controversy, the transgender person, and that's really the problem, is your definition of transgender, is a transvestite, a cross-dresser, a male that has a sexual fetish dressing as a female.
How do we know that?
I did some research, and I'm very careful about these sorts of things. And I looked at posts and social media, and I also spoke to the receptionist at the Planet Fitness. So yeah, you're dealing with a cross-dresser. I have many friends that are cross-dressers, and it's not a transsexual. It's a male that gets off dressing as women's clothing.
Zoe, isn't it possible, again, the way Planet Hollywood frames their no judgment policy is as long as you have a sincere opinion about your gender, they'll go with it. And maybe this...
Anyhow, that was a short clip from the Dr. Drew segments on this trans woman going in. Emerald, what do you have to say about her opinions about calling this trans woman a transvestite?
Well, last spring I did a lot of research on paraphilic disorders, and transvestism and fetishism lands in paraphilic disorders. And to meet the criteria to have that, it has to cause distress to the person that does it. So I couldn't imagine a person that has a paraphilic disorder walking out into public in their cross-dressing. Like, that doesn't seem appropriate to me. If somebody's going in and sees themselves as a woman and goes into the woman's locker room and is transgender, then she's a woman. It's not a disorder. If she's has like mental anguish about it, then it's a fetishism.
Kelly, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the whole interview was tailored to lead up to this good cop, bad cop moment where Drew asked Tor, well, gosh, don't you think that perhaps, this individual is possibly cross-dressing at the moment? Okay, so now now it's de facto that the individual is a cross-dressing fetishist. Don't you think that possibly, this individual is moving into that direction? He says there's a cross-dressing stage and living as a woman, actually moving into a transgender category. And Tor answers, no, that's not the case. This person is a cross-dresser who gets sexual high from dressing as a female. And then, Drew asks, he said, well, how do you know this? And Tor says, well, I looked into social media. I talked to the receptionist. I have a link on my on the article that I did on this probably what Tora saw was a Tumblr post that was up where it's possible that the individual that went was in the Planet Fitness changing room enjoys the alternate alt-sex life, and made a very unfortunate decision to post some things on Facebook about it. That's not a place to do that.
Right.
Somebody did some screen captures, to prove that, well, this person's, a fetishist, and this way we can, devalue this person with that. Again, sexuality is not gender. Tor did not talk to this woman, did not talk to this individual person. Everything that's online that you could find about this person indicates that she identifies as a female. Tora has no right at all to make this decision that her physical presence online, all these physical presence, and call this person, basically devaluate this person, rob her of her humanity. I don't understand. This is just garbage journalism, and it's really embarrassing to see somebody that most of the people in the trans community held in high esteem when it became known that she and the other copter pilot who had covered the LA riots both transitioned. I mean, what would the chances of that be? To learn that this person is so judgmental and narrow-minded is really a huge disappointment.
Yeah, and what gives her the qualification to identify somebody as a transvestic fetishist, or say that they're not trans? When they are identifying themselves to.
That's so wrong.
Yeah. Again, I spoke about this a little bit last week too, and she said that a trans woman, and I want to hear both of your opinions on this. She said that a trans woman is only a transitionary stage, that after you get facial feminization, after you get gender reassignments, after you've legally changed your name and gender, and you've been living your life, quote unquote, as a woman, and have the feminizing hormones that all of a sudden make you like men, according to her, that you're not transgender anymore, that you become cisgender. Emerald, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's each individual's right to identify their gender any way they want to. So if a transgender woman, air quote, completes transition and she still wants to be considered a transgender woman, then she has the right to.
Kelly?
Absolutely. How you identify how you want the world to understand who you are is a personal decision.
It's an interesting discussion. That's why we have to discuss this over and over again. Because the definitions that we've been using for transgender is identifying or across or beyond the gender that you were assigned at birth, and trans is the Latin prefix for across or beyond. And here's where I'm going to weigh in with my opinion and the use of definitions and terminology. While I do agree that everybody can call themselves, can identify in whichever way that they want, I don't see anything wrong with continuing to identify as trans. And it comes back to the visibility thing. If we're all of a sudden, if you become passable enough, if you become enough of a woman and you've erased all vestiges of your masculinity, then you're not trans anymore. It kind of pulls away from all of the incredible personal work that we've done as individuals. And according to the definition and my understanding of it, and again, this is a discussion, I'm not the de facto expert, I'm just another voice, is that, according to the definition that I have been using, is that you identify across beyond the gender that you were assigned at birth. I mean, nothing will change what you've been assigned at birth. I mean, even if you change your birth certificates, you were assigned something at birth. And I don't know, but anyhow, we have just about run out of time here. It's been a really fast couple hours here. As Emerald, as I asked Kelly at the end of the last hour, what would you have to say to some of our listeners here who are questioning their gender identity or sexual orientation? Just really quick.
Well, I think that if the listeners are in the Bay Area, they are really lucky to have so many resources in the area that they can take advantage of. The wonderful invention of the internet puts so many different support groups and clinics and different resources at your fingertips. I mean, there's so many places to go around the area. I am not so well versed around the rest of the country, but I mean, reach out, educate yourself, know what you want. Don't be afraid to be yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Emerald, for being here, and thank you, Kelly, for being here. Again, you've been listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody have a wonderful night. Take care.